Let's cut to the chase. Emulation is amazing. I've shown this many times over the last 6 years. I love showing emulation because we can use it to play our old favourite titles while allowing us to change the presentation to how we see fit. You want the emulator to look similar to actual hardware graphics? Emulation allows that. You want to see what happens when you increase the resolution? You can experiment with the graphical settings to your heart's desire. Do you want to put scan lines on the screen to replicate the CRT look? Emulation gives you the tools to make that a reality. While most of the popular consoles of the past have gotten a good emulator of some kind, the PlayStation 3 wasn't so lucky. Outside of owning the real hardware, experiencing PlayStation 3 games on, say, a PlayStation 4 or even a PlayStation 5 was disappointing. Some PlayStation 3 games did get HD ports, which softened the blow a little bit. Most of the native PlayStation 3 games that are available to play are using internet network streaming on the PlayStation 5, and that just doesn't work well, as you can see here. Why can't Sony just port PlayStation 3 games properly to the PlayStation service? Let me download the games to my hard drive, not this streaming bullshit. I hear there's talk of that happening in the future, but who knows. The retro community steps up once again to show Sony how it should be done. That creation is RPCS3. This PlayStation 3 emulator is the answer many of us were waiting for. In 2026, the emulator has come a long way, and today I'll be seeing what it can do against real PlayStation 3 hardware. For testing, my PlayStation 3 is using the Retro Gaming Cables component cables, which replaces my Joytech component cables, and I'm using the RetroTink 5X upscaler to output the PlayStation 3 from 720p up to 1920 by 1440. 720p is the maximum input resolution the RetroTink 5X can accept if you want to use 1920 by 1440. I did try 2560 by 1440, but my setup didn't like it. For RPCS3, I've used 720p as the base resolution, but upped the internal resolution to 3200 by 1800 and sometimes higher depending on the game. Most games I tried used the Vulkan backend, although I did use OpenGL in certain titles. I made 60 frames per second the default target frame rate in most games. I'm still new to this emulator, so any suggestions on how to get the best out of it would be appreciated. Let's see what RPCS3 can do in 2026. The first game I tested was Grid Autosport. Let's be honest, the PlayStation 3 version of this game is not the best version to play. You can get the PC version instead on Steam, and it will be much better. Regardless, here it is on the PlayStation 3 at 720p upscaled to 1920 by 1440. To say the game looks rough is pretty accurate. The details are pretty good and the general graphics are nice, but considering the 720p output, the title doesn't look clean. It's jaggy, soft in clarity, and almost looking as if the actual video output is not truly 720p. The frame rate struggles to hit 30 frames per second and often drops into the 20s. When switching to RPCS3, the graphical improvements are immediate. All the elements I complained about are now mostly resolved. The frame rate hits 30 and mostly stays there, the graphics are sharper and more defined, plus texture details are easier to discern. Unfortunately, the massive increase to the resolution also shows the decal quality is not the highest. Against the PC version from Steam, you can see how much nicer the texture quality is compared to RPCS3. Everything just looks much higher in detail. I'm using 1440p proper with ultra settings for the PC version. Granted, this was a late PlayStation 3 release and the platform was about to be replaced with the PlayStation 4 had it not been already. It's still a great showing for RPCS3 and the developers behind this emulator should be proud of their work. It's a big one. Metal Gear Solid 4 is next. For the PlayStation 3, this 720p game looks quite nice. Yes, the visuals have aged quite a bit, the frame rate isn't all that hot, but the controls are great, the action is sweet, and the new abilities this game introduced added a nice layer of depth to the stealth action. Old Snake is just as cool as the younger ones. The cutscenes are also fun to watch, just as I expected. I will sink more time into this game one day. You've seen it on the PlayStation 3, how does it look on RPCS3? Well, a big difference is the answer. With the side-by-sides, RPCS3 at 1800p shows massive improvements in the graphical output. The game is sharper, more detailed and much less blurry than real PlayStation 3 hardware. The frame rate it's still all over the place, but it can hit 60 frames per second sometimes, and it's more confident in hitting 30 or above, unlike the real PlayStation 3 hardware. Shader compilation is real, mind you, on RPCS3, so expect a lot of stuttering in the frame rate as you play. I'm aware this game is finally coming to the PlayStation 5, if it hasn't already, and that could be the best way to play for most people. If you don't have a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 5, RPCS3 is still a great way to experience this gem of a title. Here's Colin McRae, Dirt 2. I love Colin McRae. I also love his rally games and I have such fond memories with Dirt 2. The music, the graphics, the gameplay. I could go on and on about this game. I remember in 2009 trying to play this on a family PC and as you can imagine, it wasn't the most powerful computer ever made. Ironically, this makes the PlayStation 3 version the best I've seen this game look or play for that matter. It's such a blast to play and a real shame not to have it on Steam. I would play it on the PC immediately. Could RPCS3 be the solution to make this happen? Can it give us an idea of what the PC version could achieve? Yes, oh definitely yes. Look at the two side by side. How is the difference this dramatic? On RPCS3, it appears the title has turned into the PC version. The only exception is the frame rate, which is locked at 30 frames per second. You can overwrite that using advanced settings in the emulator, as you can see here, but a locked 30 frames per second still feels good to play. I suspect I could push the graphics on RPCS3 further than 3200 by 1800. I'm stunned, honestly, it just works. I had too much fun playing Dirt 2 on the emulator. I'm certainly going to continue playing after making this video, after playing Forza Horizon 6 a bit more of course. Let's try Bayonetta on the PlayStation 3. This stylish hack and slash game still holds up in 2026. Okay, the graphics are quite jaggy, the frame rate is a bit unsteady and the action is quite chaotic, but it's just damn good fun. I know sequels on the Wii U and Nintendo Switch are better, but this PlayStation 3 game is still worth a look. Also, the soundtrack is, well, it's just my cup of tea, okay? Anyway, forget that. Let's focus on what RPCS3 can do for Bayonetta. Right. How do I explain the differences? First, the frame rate. We jump from an unsteady frame rate on the PlayStation 3 to a locked or near locked 60 frames per second. That's awesome. Unfortunately, the cutscenes lose sync in RPCS3 as they were not designed with 60 frames per second in mind for the PlayStation 3. The gameplay, however, is sharper, more responsive and precise thanks to 60 frames per second. As for the graphics, this might take a moment to explain. I triple checked that I increased the resolution to 1800p, which I did. For some reason, in actual gameplay, the graphics looked on par with the PlayStation 3, and in others, such as cutscenes, the game clearly sees a resolution bump on RPCS3. Why this happens is beyond me. I hope someone in the comments section watching this video can explain this phenomenon to me. The game works great otherwise. Next, it's Tekken 6. The PlayStation 3 version of the game is always strange for me to play. I'm spoiled by the PlayStation Portable version and how incredible that port held up compared to the console versions. It's not helped that the PlayStation 3 version has long load times between stages, and even menu navigation takes time to explore, unlike the PSP version. The graphics are nice enough, but the characters look a little too jaggy for my liking. It's nothing awful, just would have been nice to see a bit of smoothing applied to have them appear clearer than what we see here. RPCS3 should therefore save the day with a massive resolution boost, right? Right? Wrong. For some reason, just like in Bayonetta, the graphical boosts don't make sense here. The background graphics get a boost in resolution, but the character models don't for some reason. It's a strange bug, glitch, or something on my end perhaps, because it's really not making sense. I'm almost certain there's a setting I ticked or missed that's causing this to occur. The loading times are faster on RPCS3 and the game does play well otherwise. Thinking I went insane, I booted up Soulcalibur IV for the PlayStation 3. This game I feel looks a bit better than Tekken 6 in some ways. Granted, it preceded Tekken 6 by 1 year, and maybe Namco wanted Soulcalibur to have a different graphical presentation. To my eyes, this is the best way to handle both the background and character models. They blend nicely together, and the jaggy looking models from Tekken 6 seem mostly absent here. What will happen if I upscale the graphics in RPCS3? What a surprise. It worked exactly as I hoped it would. Both the character models and the background see a good boost in detail and clarity. My question now becomes this: if Soulcalibur IV works fine when increasing the resolution on RPCS3, why does Tekken 6 behave differently? It's especially confusing because Bandai Namco developed both games. I don't suspect the game engines were drastically different between the two titles, and yet we get these results. Very odd. Still, Soulcalibur IV works nicely on RPCS3. Let's try the third Motorstorm game on the PlayStation 3. On RPCS3, this title is listed as in-game as opposed to playable for the other tested games so far. Will this change anything? Before that, here's how the game looks on the PlayStation 3. Not a bad looking title for 2011 standards, although the spark of the original Motorstorm is long gone. The original was an impressive launch title, and by comparison, the third game is a bit ordinary looking and dull. Still fun to play, mind you. I had a lot of fun using this Super Mini trying to bully bigger cars off the road. Believe me, this vehicle was indestructible. Oh wait, I crashed. We moved to RPCS3 and oh dear, where do I begin with this? The graphics see no improvement despite triple checking the resolution bump to 1800p. The frame rate is inconsistent and unsteady, even worse than real PlayStation 3 hardware. But the most obvious problem is the white light from the sky graphics that dominates everything. To say I had a hard time playing was an understatement. Put the two platforms side by side and you tell me, which one would you rather play? Don't worry, because things can only get better, right? Not if the emulator says otherwise. Here's the second race on the PlayStation 3 and the same race on RPCS3. Come on, this is ridiculous. I really cannot see anything here. I crashed roughly every 20 seconds or so into something I never saw coming. There's even strobe lights to make the experience more miserable. Motorstorm Apocalypse technically works on RPCS3, but it's simply not ready for prime time just yet. Maybe in the future it will be. How about Street Fighter IV? I love Street Fighter games, and although 4 is not my favourite, it was a huge return to form for a series that looked dead at one stage. Here's how it looks on the PlayStation 3. Now on RPCS3. With the two side by side, it's a clear win for RPCS3 at 1800p. Sharper yet clearer visuals means it edges the real PlayStation 3 hardware. I think the graphics look great even in 2026. The story doesn't end here though. Trying the arcade mode, I was suddenly greeted with this. Why are the character graphics hidden? On the next stage, the characters are visible, but now the lighting effects are too bright, similar to Motorstorm. Here on this stage, the characters are only half visible. Maybe it's best to use the real PlayStation 3 hardware until this odd quirk is fixed for good on RPCS3. Or you can go one better and play this on Steam. Ooh, let's see what we can do with Wipeout HD Fury. On real PlayStation 3 hardware, this title did support 1080p, but I'm sticking with 720p since I cannot upscale 1080p content. Even so, Wipeout HD Fury looks really nice, if a bit blurry with the video output. The Frustric style works so well, and the developers really used the PlayStation 3's power to deliver a stunning looking game. However, RPCS3 called and said,
"I can do better than that."
As you can see, it wasn't kidding. At 3200 by 1800, RPCS3 wipes the floor with the PlayStation 3. With the two next to one another, the increased resolution output makes the already great looking title even more spectacular. The little touches are much easier to notice, and the texture detail is high for a PlayStation 3 title. If you can run Wipeout HD Fury to this level on RPCS3, this could be the best way to play it. Right folks, I played a few more titles to see how RPCS3 gets on when compared to real PlayStation 3 hardware. Listen out for the sound quality to see which of the two is best, and I will see you at the end.
Round 1, fight! Round 2, fight! You win! Round 3, fight!
Easy left. Long, easy right. Easy left. Long, easy right. Medium left, maybe. Hairpin right. Very long water splash. Easy right. Long medium left. Ninety right. Medium right. Medium right. Long, easy left. Easy right.
Well, there we are. If you feel the results were a mixed bag, I'd agree. At times, RPCS3 was incredible. To see the PlayStation 3 games working as well as we saw, bearing in mind it was developed by a small team in the retro landscape, is nothing short of a miracle. To those still working every day on RPCS3, you deserve an award, honestly. To think that Sony still can't properly support PlayStation 3 games in 2026 is a disgrace, and shame on them for not trying to find a solution to this problem. But as impressive as RPCS3 is, there's still work to be done before it can be considered a true PlayStation 3 replacement for most people. Ideally, you would need an 8-core CPU and a decent graphics card to get the best out of the emulator. Still, I hope this video has shown you what can be done in 2026. The PlayStation 3 lives on, and knowing that RPCS3 is this good in 2026, the future for it looks bright. You folks let me know, what did you think of RPCS3? Would you use it over real PlayStation 3 hardware? Or will you just stick to using the actual console for the foreseeable future? Also, again, if you know what caused the issues I faced in this video, please tell me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you soon.